Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. This is story time for Kitten. Okay, so this story is written by Chris Dodge. It was published on August the 5th, 2021 on LinkedIn.com. The title of this story is Once Upon a Time There Was a Dog. You listening, Kitten? You listening to the story? Huh? Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's do the story. Once again, the author of this story is Chris Dodge. All right. Chris Dodge is a freelance editor, book indexer, and proofreader. All right. Once upon a time, there was a dog by Chris Dodge. A dog, lean, a lean yellow Labrador retriever, ran up and greeted us when we were house hunting in the late summer of 2006 and came to look at a property on a hill west of town. And again, when we came to look at another place for sale right above it, and when we came back a third time. When we moved in with our feline companion Bus Stop or Bussy, it became apparent that the dog came with the house. Her people had moved in a hurry and left her behind. Aww. For a while she slept on the porch and would stare in through the storm door at Black Cat. But before long she joined the household. She'd been Ripley, we learned from a neighbor, but now she was Lucy. I hadn't lived with a dog since I was about a year old. I was a cat person, as is said, and as I still am. It didn't take long for dog and cat to become companions in front of the fireplace and to share a patch of sunlight or bed. Lucy often getting only half of it or less. Lucy would groom Bussy, who would put up with it. For years, Lucy would run with me almost daily, typically 3 miles, and we walked at least 3 times a day, a minimum of a mile per walk, usually longer. Down past a ranch where llamas are now kept, up Red Fox Run, or up the path and on the gravel road above, past the peafowl. Once, early on, when I was running with Lucy on a leash in the winter on an icy path, she saw a cat, took off after it, and pulled me down. In August 2008, Lucy gracefully put up with a new human, a permanent addition to the family, a baby. And soon she was solicitous, guarding the infant's bouncy chair, watching, protecting. In time, she would abide a more active small human, one who would pinch. Before long, it seems, Child was not only ambulatory, but also walking with Lucy ahead on a leash. And that relationship slowly deepened over time into something more than companionship. My days typically began by waking to the sound of Lucy awakening, shaking her large ears and thumping downstairs. The routine was arise, pull on clothes, go downstairs, give Lucy medicine, take her for a walk, return, and feed her. Everything else came after this. Lucy was a bookend in my days, as I would take her out late in the evening before bedtime, sometimes for a real walk, sometimes just for her to pee, and for me to look up at the sky. In no small part because of Lucy, I have seen meteors and the jewel eyes of deer in my headlamp, heard long-eared and great-horned owls. In the early years and inclement weather, Lucy and I would go down to the basement of our house, where I would bounce a rubber ball off the walls, and she would leap after them and chase them. I remember the fright I felt when once she leaped, landed, and simultaneously cried out in pain and crumpled. This began our visits to the vet. Lucy wasn't old when she was diagnosed with spondylosis, and she spent most of her life aided by a daily dose of an anti inflammatory medicine. She still was able and willing to lope for about 15 minutes at the age of roughly 7 or 8, but the runs eventually slowed, shortened, and pretty much ceased. Lucy loved people and cats, got along with other dogs. She loved going places and hosting visitors, family, friends, plumbers, anyone she already knew, and also anyone she didn't know. She was loved and returned, and a certain toddler, a friend of the family, especially took a shine to Lucy. This was evidenced in photos of the two together in Hazel's backyard, the small girl offering the big dog a bowl of water, the two standing together with Hazel's hand on Lucy's back, the two alone together in the grass, Lucy lying down, Hazel sitting beside her. Lucy used to lie on the floor and enjoy having her belly rubbed. Her tail would thump the floor like a metronome, and the tempo would increase when I would smack my hand on the floor in time with her tail. Lucy traveled to the Pacific Ocean with us in 2007 and several times hiked up Mount Arena. I think I'm saying that right. Aeneas. Communing with mountain goats. In June 2011, her last hike, well above deep snow, she slid down a slope on her rear and fell into a tree well, a hollow in deep snow around the base of a tree, and I had to haul her out by her collar. When our child was not yet 2, in May 2010, Bus Stop died after a long illness, and I buried him under a giant wild rose in our yard, surrounded by a patch of thistles, home to deer. Lucy has so bonded with Bus Stop and now an only was now an only quadruped. Years later, a new black male cat appeared on our hillside, a kitten who grew into a cat, actually, and Lucy befriended him eagerly. I sometimes wondered later whether Lucy thought that Bussy had finally returned. Lucy's last hike was on May Day 2015 when she made it up to Schema Lake with me, 4 miles. I think that's too much walking. Right, Kitten? That's too much walking, I think. I think he overdid it with that Labrador. It's too much. Before you go walking your dog to death to an early grave, please check with your vet. Please double check the breed to see if that's what you should be doing. Additionally, small dogs like Kitten generally last 3 times longer than the much bigger dogs. I don't know why. Bigger dogs just um, they don't live very long. So I would check with your vet to come up with a good plan for preserving the life of the longevity of your dog's life, your best friend's life. That's what I would say. Okay, let's go. But he was a cat person, so I was a cat person too when I first got Kitten. I didn't really know how to take care of this little old thing. No, I didn't. But we just worked it out, right? I did double check with the vet. I did do research on her breed and, just looking at her. She's just so little. You just cannot treat um every dog the same. They're individuals. Okay, so let's keep it moving. All right. Lucy's last hike was on May Day 2015 when she made it up to Skima Lake with me. 4 miles. 4 miles. And she had already had an incident. Oh, this man, honey. And his wife obviously ain't say nothing. It's, ugh. Anyway. Up to Skima Lake, 4 miles, 1,200 vertical feet. Vertical, not horizontal. This is not a plane. I would call the SPCA on this man if I knew him. This poor dog. Okay, so up Skima Lake and back to Trailhead, either slithering under down trees or me lifting her over them. So this wasn't even an easy vertical hike. This was arduous and dangerous. Oh, Lord, let me not get too carried away, okay? Slithering under down trees or me lifting her over them. A half-day hike. He killed his dog with exhaustion, y'all. That's what he did, Moo. That's what he did. It's a damn shame. Anyway, uh, a half-day hike and then slept in my car all afternoon as I hiked up to nearby Stanton Lake. I wonder if this author is still alive. He done ran his own self to death. Horrible. In early years, when Lucy accompanied me to town, riding in the back of the car, and I would run an errand, I frequently would come back to find her in the driver's seat. Eventually, I procured a barrier to erect between the way back and the passenger seats, which stayed in place until the last day of her life. I was a bit premature in removing it because she once afterward managed her way into the back seat, where she squashed and displaced the contents of several grocery bags. Yeah, I think this dog, I don't know. If that's how you treat your best friend, I don't know what to say about you, honey. You ain't a good friend. A light-colored lab who shed in summertime. Lucy's hairs can still be found if you know where to look after 5 years. That's 'cause you dirty too. I'm sorry, kitten. It's supposed to be a good story, but he getting on my nerves. Okay. Her homes away from home were Stoltz Pet Shop, several stints of boarding there, the house of Hazel's family, and the veterinary clinic. His vet should have turned him in. Bad vet, too. In her later years, certain noises caused Lucy great anxiety, sounds that can be categorized as booms, bangs, and beeps. Thunder, gunshots, and fireworks largely comprise the first two categories. In the latter category were the high pitched electronic chirps of a carbon monoxide detector and the beep of a operated backup electricity source that comes on when power goes out. The first time the latter happened, Lucy bolted out the door and disappeared. I later found her at what became her safe place in such instances, nearest neighbor's house. Poor dog. Mm. Till the end, Lucy loved to eat, not just her food. A human dinner time she usually At human dinner time, she usually lay on the floor by the table, waiting for a morsel to drop. After we left the table, she would get up and lick the floor. Outdoors, in every season, she found good things to eat: ice, snow, grass, and deer poop. on July 5th, 2012, left for an afternoon in a cool cabin instead being taken along for a ride in a hot car. Lucy ate unattended trail mix with chocolate nibs and an entire stick of butter, including the wrapper. She was part dog, part cat, part cow, part crocodile. In 2013, as my mother's health declined, moving toward the age of 93, I wondered who would die first, she or Lucy. Oh, this man, honey. The two had met once when my mom, he just put his mama in the same category as a dog, y'all. I'm sorry, kitten. Let me just read. I'm going to just read the story, okay? I'm going to just read the story, all right? You like it? You like the story, kitten? You like it? It's all right? Okay, let's keep going then. Um, oh man, I'm taking a sip of coffee. Dear listener, d- your mother is not in the same category as a dog or a pet. Okay, let's get that straight. All right, let's go on. The two had met once when my mom came to visit in 2007, and the two had the same personality: outgoing, curious, never meeting a stranger, stoic, hedonistic, faithful. My mother died on the winter solstice that year, and Lucy kept right on going. In the autumn of 2015, I had a conversation with Lucy's veterinarian about end of life concerns and decision making. I was thinking she might not be able to make it through another winter and its inevitable icy stairs, icy drive, occasional deep snow. That poor dog. She made it through another winter handily, and another spring, a good one. A highlight of her days during the last spring of her life was to go to school with me each afternoon to pick up the kid. She knew the routine. I would lift her into the car, she would make the 20-minute drive, and at the end of it, I'd lift her out. If kids weren't out of school yet, and even sometimes if they were, I'd take Lucy for a short jog to the half-mile trail mowed through high grass. She would sometimes really run for 50 strides, 100 strides or more. Then, after a couple of minutes, she would come back to the school where children doted upon her. Um, Many would stop to pet her and greet her by name, sometimes asking me questions about her and telling me things about other dogs and cats in their lives. Beginning with Helen, whom I trusted, I began to let children take Lucy for short walks. Of those children was a girl named Lucy. Several of the school kids specially empathized with canine Lucy. Two, Addie and Eddie, would take off their glasses and let her lick their faces. Pure love. Eddie once said to me, I wish Lucy would never die. In her last months, Lucy's walks 2 or 3 times a day, rarely more than 3/10 of a mile, shortened further. Eventually, she usually just wanted really to stand and sniff. Her last real walk, over a mile and a half, was when my niece Kelly came for a visit in early June. In her last months, if not years, as she lay half asleep and responded to tender touches from her human, she would utter throaty sounds we'd never heard before from her: moans, lion-like vocalization, seemingly attempts to speak like a human. She's probably cussing y'all out. Y'all ran her to an early grave. Y'all walked her to an early grave, miles and miles, and probably didn't even complain. Poor thing. The human has to know better. Even if the dog doesn't know their limitations, you have to be the one to regulate that. I mean, if you want your dog to live and have a quality of life, you just can't do this. Um, In her last months, if not years, as she lay half asleep and responded to tender touches from her human, she would utter throaty sounds we'd never heard before from her. In her last months, I would usually carry Lucy up the 13 stairs, 2 flights, to the door of our house after her morning walk. For a time, she was able once a day, first thing in the morning, to bull her way up them with the strength of her forelegs. Uh-oh. What's wrong with her hind legs, Mr. Man? People. Jesus H. Christ, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, protect Kitten and protect me and protect all living things from the sexual advances of other living things, Father, in the name of Jesus. Eek. Better recognize it. If you don't know, ask somebody. Some states don't even have laws against that type of behavior. I just think y'all should know. Uh, if you want an example or a point of reference, Google Washington State and a man who was killed in the act with a horse. Yeah, I don't mean to laugh. It's not funny. It's very sick. Okay. When I first heard it, I thought it was fake, but and Miss Lucy, she could get up there with the strength of her forelegs, meaning that her hind legs did not have strength. I've had quite a few dogs in my life, as a kid and everything, German shepherds and whatnot, and other, strays and things like that. Nothing ever was wrong with their hind legs or forelegs or anything like that. Okay, I'm just saying. All right, okay. Later in the day, I would carry her up the stairs and I would carry her up the 15 stairs, 2 flights to our loft bedroom in the late evening. In her last weeks, I would also carry her down the outside stairs, 70 pounds of muscle, bone, and heart. Lucy had begun to fall more and more frequently, and while she sometimes was able to gamely and gingerly maneuver the process, make the last 3 stairs in a leap, she would frequently tumble, slide down on the last stairs on her bottom. The entryway of our house and the hardwood floor beyond leading to kitchen, living room, child's bedroom, and my office had rugs and runners placed so that Lucy could walk without falling. She eventually learned how to slowly inch across a short stretch of slippery floor between one of those runners and the door to M's room. In her youth, Lucy once attended a party where many other dogs were present. A small dog with a chip on its shoulder arrived, and a melee ensued. The little dog's ear was lacerated, and I took the rap on Lucy's behalf, though I was not at all certain she had been the culprit. I gave the pup and his human a ride to town for emergency after hours suturing. The last week of her life, Lucy slowly walked down the hill with me, en route to the mailbox, but we didn't make it. We were intercepted by not just 2 neighbor dogs, who were well mannered, but also a new one, a puppy, and an interloper, who did not know how to behave around an elder. Lucy fell, couldn't get up on her own, and I could not get the puppy to go away and stay away. At last, I leashed the pup to a stationary object and coaxed Lucy back up the hill, thinking I might need to carry her. She made it on her own. On her last day, Lucy ate food, went outside, and sniffed the air. She received tender caresses as her people took time away from preparing for M's birthday party. At the party the next day, after 2 hours or so, a bolt of lightning split the sky and it began to rain. Just as humans were all indoors, heavy rain turned to hail. Just as on the day we brought newborn M home from the hospital in August of 2008, another flash of lightning was followed almost immediately by a very loud thunderclap. Now that Lucy is gone, the sky seemed to say, "Let the thunder roar." We'll remember Lucy's innocence, her unending friendliness and stoicism, the soft fur below her ears, the scent of her nape, the corn chip smell of her feet. Don't be smelling dogs' feet, okay? Thank you. I drafted a version of these words 5 years ago on my first day home alone without her. Old Goose, as I privately called her, Old Dog, which my mother sussed out, was also synonymous for me. For 10 years, nearly a sixth of my lifetime, Lucy sometimes seemed to me like a ball and chain. Yet it would not be otherwise than this. Having come to understand her needs, her preferences, to sense when she needed to go out, when things were not well, having taken care of her, I loved Lucy. Love her still and always will. Lucy the dog was like a child who would never grow up, and at the same time like a wise old crone who never lost her appreciation of a child's joys, the warmth of the sun, the magic of snow, and more. Forever may her spirit live. The end. What do you think, Kitten? That was a good story or nah? I think it was good. She just ignored me. So that was a story of Lucy. Uh, the story of Lucy, the golden retriever, who was just basically abandoned. She was an abandoned dog, and then this man moved into the house, and he treated this dog like he treated himself, I guess is what he's trying to say at the end. He walked her to an early grave, hiked her to an early grave, and he's probably doing the same to himself. You know, if you don't know how to take care of yourself and recognize when you need rest, when you need proper nutrition, when you need, you know, if you can't do that for yourself, you're not going to do that for your pets either. Let's see what the comments say. Candace says, poignant memories. Thank you for sharing. Wishing you well. Um, Martha says, uh, this sweet old girl is eternal. Her happy spirit goes on and on. Okay, Martha. Martha's crazy. Okay, so there you go. There's a story by Chris Dodge, spelled Dodge. And his story is once upon a time there was a dog, and the dog was him. He treated this female dog named Lucy um, as a representation of himself in dog form. And the moral of the story is don't do that. You're not a dog. You're not your dog. Your dog is not you. Okay? Some people are an amalgamation of everybody they know, including their parents, all their pets, and teachers and experiences. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Each experiences it can stand on its own. You are not your parents. You are not your dogs. You are not you are you. Okay. You have your own set path and destination, and you have a responsibility to look after yourself, your health, your welfare and your mental wellness. Okay, don't sacrifice any of it, and don't be conjoining your existence with other people. Okay, you're not your mama, you're not your daddy. You are you. Find out who that is and embrace that. Accept that. Warts and all. Okay, I love y'all. It's been real. This was a Valentine's Day story time for Kitten. Okay, she feels better. Kitten was feeling a little sad. She wanted a story. Yeah, she wanted a story. Yeah. Okay, so Kitten's happy now. Gave her a little treat. Yeah, she back in her bed. Good girl. You good? You good now? Yes. All right. All right, so there you have it. Now I got to get back to my class and everything else. And so I will talk to y'all later. Have a wonderful day.